Right. This is going to be fun. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and it's finally happened. We're finally at the 13th Doctor Adventures from Big Finish Productions. Jodie Whittaker, who played the 13th Doctor, and Mandip Gill, who played Yasmin Khan, have returned to the Doctor Who universe in a series of bi-monthly audio adventures. These are not full-blown box sets, these are 1 hour single story releases that are going to take us basically up to the next 2 years. As far as May 2027, so we're essentially getting another full series of the 13th Doctor just over a very long span of time. And the first adventure is the 13th Doctor Adventures Vampire Weekend, written by Tim Foley. You folks probably already know by now, but I love Tim Foley as a writer. I think he's one of the best writers working for Big Finish. Basically, he's one of the best writers writing in the Doctor Who universe generally at the moment. He's also writing the first 9th Doctor and Rose story, which comes out next month, but I'll get to that when I get to that. So Vampire Weekend takes place between the events of Revolution of the Daleks and the Halloween Apocalypse, where the 13th Doctor and Yasmin Khan are travelling together. Yasmin has decided to take the weekend off from time and space. She's going to her mate Gina's Hendu. She's not been made the Maid of Honour because she's hardly around, so she's going to go there to surprise her friend. The actual Maid of Honour, Zoya, played by Anna Critchlow, has rented a large manor in the Peak District, but has forgotten to invite Gina. It's Zoya, Yaz, a couple of mates, and also Gina's mum, and that's her name in the story, Gina's mum. No one knows her actual name. She's played by Mandy Simons. However, the 13th Doctor turns up unannounced at the door. She's got 2 chickens with her, Ian and Barbara, and not just because she thinks she's inviting a Hendu. She's brought these chickens because they are natural enemies of vampires, and she thinks that a vampire has infiltrated the Hendu. A giant force field has enveloped the house, meaning that no one can get in and no one can get out, including the vampire. So it's up to the Doctor and Yaz to figure out who the vampire is and put a stop to their evil plan.
Right, nobody can hear us out here. So, there's a force field around this house and something bit one of my oldest... Hang on. Force field. So we're trapped. It's not as bad as you think. Which means it's 10 times worse. Just tell me this isn't a... And don't laugh, because I know they can't be real, but the shape of that bite... We're not dealing with vampires, are we? I can explain. They are real. Vampires are ancient foes of my people. Back in the dark times, there were endless wars between the Time Lords and the Blood Lords. The day and the night of the universe. But that's all gone. Done. And yet, every so often you come across the odd straggler. After dropping you off, I found one and I'm hunting it across space and time. Had a right old time of it. Macedonia, Pluto, 14th century Avignon. Luckily, I had Ian and Barbara to keep me company. The chickens. Yep. And now this vampire's rocked up here. Why didn't you say? You said yourself. This is a big weekend. I didn't want to worry you. Is that the full story? Why is it here now? I'm not sure. It shouldn't be able to hop around time like this. Maybe it's drawn to you, a fellow temporal traveller. Or maybe it's taunting me. It knows I'm on its tail. It's gone for my closest friend. But this time, I'm going to find it, Yaz. This time, I have it cornered.
Vampire Weekend is a fun time. It's a really enjoyable hour-long listen, which is essentially a Base Under Siege slasher story, where one of the guests is a vampire, and it's process of elimination to try and figure out who this vampire is. Is it Ian and Barbara the chickens? Is it Boo Boo the dog that Gina's mum has brought along? And while the mystery is resolved pretty quickly, because this is an hour-long story, I actually thought that the twist was really effectively handled, in that it was genuinely surprising, but then when you go back and think about the elements that have been set up in the story, it really earned the twist. It set up those elements really effectively. And I also like the lore behind the vampire, that yes, it does bite people on the neck, but it doesn't suck their blood. It essentially forces truth out of them. It's kind of like the Class episode Detained, where they're forced to unveil their deepest, darkest secrets in order to escape. And I think that recontextualization in this setting was really interesting, how you have this group of really insecure young people, including Yaz, and you have to force them to out this tension between each other in ways that naturally makes people suspicious of them, and in some ways makes them drop their guard. That also reveals some really nice character stuff between not only Yaz's circle of friends, but also the Doctor and Yaz themselves. There's some nice conflict in this story, where Yaz is annoyed that the Doctor has turned up to ruin the Hendu, and the Doctor picks up on that and feels guilty about ruining Yaz's weekend because she's gotten her best friend involved in all this vampire conflict. And there's also the idea of Yaz disconnecting from her ordinary life, including her friendship with Ryan and Greg, Graham. Now, this isn't revolutionary when it comes to Doctor Who's revival, but it is a dynamic that's not really explored in the 13th Doctor's era specifically, so it's just good to see it here. It's good to see conflict. It's good to see something which could pan out over the next 12 episodes. I am skeptical of how much mileage Big Finish can get out of this without just retreading Rose or Clara, but I am grateful for the added dimensions. I'm not saying that the 13th Doctor and Yaz had no dimensions, it was just difficult for the stories on TV to get it to the surface. This is an arc, this is a conflict that I do want to see expanded on, whether or not Yaz can trust the Doctor to be transparent and open and honest with her. Remember, in the TV run of the 13th Doctor, Graham, Ryan, Dan, nor Yaz learn about the Timeless Child or the Fugitive Doctor. For me, that's a really big issue, and it'll be interesting to see if they can add those dimensions without retroactively messing up any continuity from the TV series. There are also a few lines in the third act which draw attention to themselves, and I'm guessing that they are meant to be some sort of longer running arc or mystery element that's going to run over the next 2 years, kind of like Bad Wolf or The Hybrid or Torchwood. But I think the goal with the 13th Doctor adventures is to make these standalone adventures, and if you are listening to all of them, then you will get these recurring elements that will ultimately pay off in the finale. But as for this story, for this adventure, I thought it was a fun romp. I thought that Jodie Whittaker was really fun and energized in the story. I also liked the supporting cast, although while Tim Foley does a good job at, giving characters texture, even though they only appear for a short amount of time, I think that this particular cast, there wasn't really that much to them. Although I will say I liked Gina's mum, and that she knows that people just call her Gina's mum and never learn to know her name, and there's like a quiet tragedy to that. We also have Daryl, played by Daniel Walford in the story, who is non-binary, and they're really worried that ever since coming out there's been a tension between them and Kat. However, it's set up really strangely. This tension, and also the fact that they're non-binary, is not mentioned or alluded to until this scene where the conflict comes up actually happens. Everyone, including the Doctor and Gina's mum, who do not know anything about Daryl, use they-them pronouns, and it kind of felt massively out of left field. I don't know, it's not something that's easy to convey in audio, and maybe only the gays in my emails will care about this issue, but I think the way it's presented in this story felt a little bit out of left field and a bit forced, even though it was clearly done with the best of intentions. But yeah, Vampire Weekend is a fun time, it's a good time, but that's kind of it. It doesn't do anything incredibly exceptional. Its performances are really strong. Mandip Gill and Jodie Whittaker are great as leads, but it doesn't really push these characters too far. It doesn't really test them, and I'm not really expecting this story to. It's the season opener of a 12-episode season, and I also understand that with this being Jodie Whittaker's first foray into Big Finish, this could genuinely be people's introduction to the range. This could be people's introduction to the company, so they maybe just want to play it a little bit safe, and that's absolutely fine. It wasn't until Christopher Eccleston's second box set that we started getting 10 out of 10 bangers, but it's a solid opener. It's a good time. If you don't like the 13th Doctor and Yaz, then I don't think this story is going to change your mind, but we'll have to see what the future of the range is. We already know that September's story is called The Return of the Doctor, written by Rory Thomas Howes, who is a brand new writer to Big Finish, and that's kind of what I want to see this range become. Fun adventures with the 13th Doctor and Yaz with brand new writers, brand new voices, and hopefully as more of these come along, we can start pushing these characters, we can start testing them, we can start adding more capital D drama. But Vampire Weekend is a fun slasher story with chickens named Ian and Barbara, and on that level, I did have a good time. But that's my review of Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor Adventures Vampire Weekend. What did you folks think of this audio drama? Let me know in the comment section below. And also like and subscribe for more Doctor Who Big Finish reviews. And folks, I'll see you all next time.